A manager at In-N-Out makes $160,000 per year? That's according to this article from the California Sun. So I did a little more digging, and according to Indeed.com, they make $124,000. The average restaurant manager makes $65,000, almost half the amount. And a Five Guys manager makes even less than that at $58,000 per year. Bro, your hamburgers are more than twice as expensive as In-N-Out's. Where's all that money going to? So they make a better burger for cheaper, yet they still find a way to pay their employees better. In-N-Out justified.
And that's really good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an emergency marketing Monday on a special topic to me, NVIDIA. Sorry, I apologize in advance for my appearance and demeanor and general attitude. It's because I'm sick. I'm sick with NVIDIA fever and also COVID, probably. I'm really sick. But NVIDIA fever has swept the nation. Today is NVIDIA earnings release day, and the entire stock market, nay, the entire US economy seems to hinge on the performance of this one stock. How did we get here? What is going on? This used to be a gaming company that made chips for high-end nerds to crank up the graphics in Cyberpunk. How is this the most important company in the world over the past 3 years? I want to talk about this. I want to explain what today's earnings
Probably the AI
and
stuff.
I want to explain the risks and challenges going forward as we rely on fewer and fewer tech companies to power all of our global economic growth. Again, fourth quarter earnings changed from a year earlier. We are in the first quarter of 2024, but in the last quarter of 23, we saw 6 companies, basically the entire Magnificent 7 companies other than Tesla, produce all of the growth. The other 494 were down. So we say the market and everybody's retirement, which is here, is up slightly.
1 second.
crazy. Everyone's retirement plans are up a little bit, and it's all because of 6 companies. Of those 6 companies, now only 2 are doing really well. The dynamic duo in 2024 is basically Nvidia and Microsoft. 33%, a third of every, half of all Americans have their retirement plans in this. A third of all of the growth came from one company, Nvidia, and then 23% came from Microsoft. Basically, over half of all of the growth in the top 500 companies came from these 2 alone. We are in almost never before seen levels of lack of breadth in the market. We are having very, very, very few companies dictate all of the move. The last times this happened are around the dot-com bubble in 1929. Again, I'm not saying we're in the same kind of thing, but I am saying that level of concentration is
wild.
And Goldman Sachs is calling Nvidia, before today's announcement, the most important stock on earth. As Nvidia announced earnings today, there was widespread fear that if they missed on earnings,
that shit's crazy.
if they announced bad results, they hadn't made as much money as people thought, it would have tanked the entire market, dragged everything down with them. So a lot was riding on today's announcement. It was called the AI Trade's moment of truth.
Even you suggest it's, quote, the whole ball game for the most crowded trade on earth. And that
the most crowded trade on earth. Again, in the past few months, everybody and their mother have swarmed into Nvidia. They've put their savings into Nvidia. Anyone you talk to has heard of this stock, and they're putting money into it. It's become the most traded stock on Wall Street, surpassing Tesla. Sven Henrik, I like this guy. We've now reached the part of the market breadth cycle where the entire market is dependent on one stock. This is from this morning, as everyone eagerly awaited the announcement. Again, just to clarify, 4 times a year, companies have a quarterly report where they announce how much money they made, what their costs were, and how much they plan to make in the future. And that's when you see big movements in the stock price. Today's quarterly report from Nvidia had a lot riding on it. Nvidia is just Taylor Swift for dudes. Everybody's buying the stock. Everyone's talking about it. It's become a meme. It's become just a bonding mechanism for people, okay? At some point, people were making bets. Again, today, I don't want to get too into the intricacies of options. Let's just say you can buy a stock and own a piece of a company and, make money as that company gets more valuable. Or you can make bets using options. Basically gambles on whether it's going to go up or down, how much, and by when. These are much harder to make money on because you have to be right on not only the direction, but the timing. We are seeing people making bets that Nvidia will hit $1,300 by February 23rd. That means Nvidia will double in the next 2 days and become the most valuable company in history. It will pass even Microsoft's peak in the 3 trillions. There are some people, lots of people making this bet. Which is insane, because even if they announce really good earnings, it's not likely to double in days. The level of degeneracy in the market right now is crazy around Nvidia. People are making absolutely lunatic bets. Nancy Pelosi has made a massive bet on Nvidia and is praying that this earnings call goes well, as she has something like $1.4 million to gain. Actually,
I think it's a bad bet.
She put in $5 million.
I don't think they're gonna.
1.4 million.
That's crazy.
So there's a lot riding on today's announcement, and I tuned in, as did the world. What happened when Jensen Huang took onto the call and announced what Nvidia was doing? Guess what? They fucking did it. Was it good or bad? It was good. Somehow, against all odds and all insane expectations, yet again, this leather jacket king pulled another rabbit out of the metaphorical earnings hat and saved the market for a little while longer. Nvidia announced record-setting growth. Revenue more than tripled. Profits rose 9-fold. And then, this is the most important part, they projected that they would triple their revenue again. Because it can't just grow. It has to project continued growth into the future to hopefully eventually catch up to its insane price, which has far outstripped how much money it makes. Record 265% revenue growth is moving the entire stock market. Everybody's retirement, which is in the S&P 500, is relying on these few tech companies to have insane growth. If they slow down even slightly, it's going to cause such a catastrophic knock-on effect. But NVIDIA is holding true. They are holding strong, and they are carrying the weight of the world on their back. So far, at least for another quarter, we're good. And I want to explain a little bit about how NVIDIA got to this point and why they're so successful, and why what you used to think of them may not no longer apply. Obviously, it has a lot to do with AI, as you're seeing here. And I think I've mentioned this in previous Marketing Mondays, but to just distill it, there is an AI gold rush, okay? All tech companies worldwide, in fact, all companies in general, see insane opportunities to either save costs by firing people, or do things more efficiently, or sign customers up for more things, just to make more money from AI, okay? And if you want to get into AI, let's say you're this guy panning for gold and your name is Mark Zuckerberg, and you want to get on this gold, you think AI is going to make your business more competitive, you're going to make more money, well, then you need this pan. You need picks. You need shovels. The only seller in town of picks and shovels of the AI gold rush is NVIDIA. What you need to train large language models like ChatGPT or to do machine learning is NVIDIA GPU data centers like these, the H100. These things can cost around $50,000. And you know how much they cost to make? Around $3,000. NVIDIA takes some silicon sand out of the ground, designs it, gets people in Taiwan to make it. The whole thing costs between $3,000, $3,500 to make. They sell it for close to $50K, and it's one of the greatest businesses in the world because nobody else can design the chips like NVIDIA currently. And all of these other tech companies, Microsoft, Google, Meta, companies in China, they all see the money from the AI gold rush, but they all have to stop by NVIDIA and buy endless amounts of these H100s and other data center solutions, which is why NVIDIA has gone from a nominally gaming company to this. This is their income statement from what they just announced today. Notice how gaming is a relatively small part of this massive business. $18.4 billion of revenue came from AI data center. Gaming is 3. Now let me flash you back real quick. This is just a year and a half ago. They were almost equal. If you flash back a year before that, like when I worked there, they were dead equal, if not data center was behind. In the past very short period of time, the sales of this type of thing have catapulted NVIDIA's profitability. And you'll notice gaming growth is 0%. This is no longer in any real stretch of the imagination a gaming company at all. They have completely pivoted to being an AI 0% company growth for other tech companies, and that has made them one of the most valuable companies on earth. So here's Jensen on stage talking about AI supercomputers for the era of generative AI. These big data centers that he's selling that are going to make him wealthy, and other people take the risk. And I want to explain a little bit of why that is, basically how they suddenly came to dominate this market. Very simply, for the long time, stuff like this was done with CPUs, the type of stuff Intel makes. Moore's law, which is that efficiency will double every year, fell off. And it turns out that GPUs are remarkably good for things like machine learning, deep learning, training language models. That's the basic idea. And they created a platform called CUDA, which is like a software layer that goes on top of the hardware, which means they kind of own the full stack. So if you want to train stuff on AI, you use CUDA software, which means you learn NVIDIA solutions, which means if someone else makes a different one on a different chip, it's hard for you to learn. It's a pain in the ass. It's kind of like the way, you know, if you learn graphic design on Adobe software in school, then when you go to your workplace, they have to buy Adobe because that's what you know how to use. So people study AI using CUDA on NVIDIA GPUs. And then when you go to work in AI, you need to buy NVIDIA GPUs and use CUDA. That's the general idea. So this was incredibly predictive of the future by NVIDIA and Jensen Huang. They saw ahead of the game. They planned this 10 years in advance. They worked to build it up. And then when the moment finally happened, they're so far ahead of the game. And that is how they've started to reap insane rewards. And it's very hard for other companies to catch up. And based on today's earnings, things look good. Jensen says they're in the first year of a 10-year cycle of spreading AI tech into every single industry. They're going to partner with everybody. Everybody wants to buy their stuff. So growth will not stop, according to him. He even says it's surging among nations. This has been his big push. Let me explain this. These companies fucking hate that they have to buy shovels from NVIDIA. They really
True.
don't like it because they're getting drastically upcharged. They are all thinking and plotting of ways to no longer have to spend this much money on NVIDIA chips. So NVIDIA, seeing that coming
AI
down
is
the
probably
pipe,
gonna help.
are trying to find new demand in the form of going around to different countries and saying, you need to have your own national AI system, and we're gonna sell you the stuff to do it. That's the general idea. And nations have, you know, unlimited budgets, so it's a big growth area. And all of this can go well, and NVIDIA will keep growing and hit a fucking $8 trillion valuation, and everyone will get their bags full and go to the moon and get rich, okay? This is a realistic possibility. If you read all this stuff, everyone's going to the moon, there's no problem. I just think you can hear that story from anyone. I personally get nervous because throughout history, people have been told that story many times. And a lot of times it has ended in heartbreak and pain and tragedy. So I want to also, to be fair, give you an idea of the risks. I know that Dave Portnoy will tell you that stocks only go up and only losers take profits. Similar things were said about Cisco during the dot-com bubble of 2001. Cisco is the blue line here. NVIDIA is the pink line here. Cisco at one point was the most valuable company in the world because they said they were going to build, you know, the bandwidth and the switches of the internet age. They were the picks and shovels person of the internet age, and they became the most valuable company in the world, and everybody bought in. And it turns out that other people came in, could build that stuff for cheaper. They didn't have as big of a moat as they thought they had, and the company lost a lot of that value. But the general idea is that there was a bit of a mania, a bit of a bubble around this new technology. It's possible that is here. As Jeff Bezos likes to say, your margin is my opportunity. Now, when he says it, because he's a bald asshole, he means if you have a sporting goods store that sells this $70 net for students to play baseball or softball, I'm going to steal it, make it in a Chinese factory, and sell it for $5 cheaper with Amazon Basics. But it applies to all industries, okay? The fact that NVIDIA has such a massive margin, the difference between what they charge and what it costs them to make, means someone can come in, find a way to make the same thing and charge a little bit less and get a lot of the customers. What's stopping that right now is that these are really hard to make. NVIDIA is world class at designing these chips. There's only 3 major companies, especially if you're US based, that can design this kind of stuff. And there's only one company that can really make it, which is TSMC in Taiwan. And this company is booked out for years. Every single, minute of their foundry time is booked out by NVIDIA and Apple and Samsung and Sony for years and years and years. It's very hard to get any foundry time. So if you want to compete with NVIDIA, you have to put up a whole lot of money to outbid and grab this time, and you better have a chip you know is going to sell. That being said, people are doing that. Microsoft and Intel today, right after NVIDIA's earnings, announced they are striking a custom chip deal that could be worth billions. Microsoft is openly saying, we are going to find a way around this. We're going to do whatever it takes to try and get cheaper chips. We cannot be paying NVIDIA these prices forever. This is happening. I mean, the markets are all moving around trying to find a way around this. The second risk could happen is that perhaps demand might slow. Nobody wants to talk about this, but I'll give you an example from my experience. When I started at NVIDIA around here, 2016, 2017, we had an immediate spike and then a sudden crash of the stock. What happened here? Crypto. People started buying GPUs like crazy to mine crypto, and everyone thought the demand would be infinite. And then there was a bit of a crypto crash. People stopped buying GPUs. They flooded the market with used GPUs. So even gamers didn't want to buy new GPUs anymore. They just bought the used ones. And NVIDIA demand went off the cliff. It was a big problem internally at the company, and it caused the stock to go way down. I remember there was a lot of low morale around the office. People were like bummed, oh, I should have sold or whatever. Thank God they didn't, right? You understand that this is possible. If there's a possibility that, for example, GPT stuff like ChatGPT, etc., doesn't make enough money, if all of this stuff they're promising is going to make a lot of money doesn't do it, they're already spending so much money to train and make these models. If they don't eventually print money, the demand is going to eventually dry up fast. We're in a real situation where if the demand slows down, all of a sudden this graph for NVIDIA looks way different. And then finally, there's Dark Brandon. Dark Brandon has been talking a real big game about cutting NVIDIA off from selling GPUs to China because there's a real worry about the AI race getting out of control between USA and China. NVIDIA is the leader in making AI chips. China is a major buyer of them. In fact, China buys 25%, basically a fourth of all of NVIDIA's chips worldwide are sold only in China. And Biden has been cutting off NVIDIA from selling the latest chips to China. China still wants these fucking chips. So what they're doing is finding ways to acquire them despite the ban, and then force disassembling them to make their own AI startups. They are trying to back channel it. And if they do catch up, if China does reverse engineer this stuff and starts producing them cheaply, the market could get flooded with cheaper discount NVIDIA level GPU or close to NVIDIA GPUs. These are all things that you could worry about. Either the revenue slowing because they can't sell to China, or China making copycats, etc. All of this is not talked about enough because we're only focusing on the upside. Everything is good, straight to the moon. Let's not worry about it. $1 million price target, whatever. And I just want to mention a couple of the risks. Again, there's a Warren Buffett.
There's a lot of risk. I feel like there's so many risks here.
NVIDIA, I think, I've worked there. I worked there 5 years. I own shares. I'm actually... It's a big part of my portfolio. I still have plenty of NVIDIA shares. I respect the company. I respect Jensen Huang. I think he's one of the best CEOs in the business. I think NVIDIA is a cutting edge company, and you can feel good about investing in them generally. The problem is when the price gets to such stratospheric levels, you might be paying more than what a good company is worth. It's possible for a company to be good and overvalued. For example, all 4 of these companies are part of the S&P 500's energy sector. They are the largest oil companies on earth. Take them and add them with every single other oil and gas and energy company in the entire S&P 500. And you have a smaller market cap than NVIDIA. NVIDIA currently is valued more than every single oil, gas, energy company in the stock market combined.
That's crazy.
That's risky because their income combined is 147 billion and NVIDIA's is 19. The level of growth NVIDIA has to get to catch up to what it's worth right now is a little crazy. And all I want to do when I talk about this is give you some semblance of warning, because I feel like nobody else will. You can say, whatever, I'm going to the moon, have fun staying poor, whatever. I'm a holder. But I've taken some profit off the table. I just want you to be careful. So now that I've said that, let's all go to the moon, baby. Let's all go to the fucking moon. All right, everyone all in, easy money, no worries. I just wanted to give you that update and hope that helps you understand NVIDIA's earnings today and what's going on in the market. Thanks for watching Marketing Monday.
Thanks for the tip, but what the duck? Amount $128. Tip $1,000. Beautiful nipples, princess, call me. The master at gentleman luxury. Oh my god. Why they expose though? I mean, like, if you do that, then, you know, that's what you get. Princess treatment only. Well, there's a lot of guys that do weird stuff like this, yeah. She's going? You think so? Well, I don't know. This is a dom trying to recruit a sub? Yeah, absolutely. For 1K, you can call me whatever you want. I gotta admit, I'm curious to see the nipples. Oh my god. If anyone would like to comment on my nipples, I'm down for half the price. Well, I think that people say that, but like whenever it's like, here's the difference, I think, whenever you're a girl, is that whenever you're a guy, unless there's like something wrong with you, or you're really young, or, you know, you're just like towards the end of like the bell curve, you're going to be able to defend yourself against another guy. But women are just like smaller, weaker, and slower than men are. So there's like the added physical threat of this happening. So I think that's very different. So that like guys, I don't think can really see the way that women react to this kind of stuff in the same way, because we've never been put in that position. It's like a lot of girls, I swear to fucking God, man, there are girls like, it's like going out as a girl for a lot of them is like playing on a PvP server. Like they have like all these strategies for like how they're not going to have, you know, a guy talk to them in this situation or whatever else. They have like pepper spray. They have like a person they're going to call. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, it's PvP server. And guys don't have to worry about that in the same way, right? And also, like, it can make you very uncomfortable because here's the issue, right? Is that if a guy does this, you don't know if this guy's going to show up tomorrow with a gun. You don't know if this guy's going to try to harass you or he's going to get mad at you for not calling him or something like that. And again, it's like the Chris Tucker joke. You know, we always tell jokes about crazy girlfriends because whenever a girl has a crazy boyfriend, she's dead. So that's just what happens. Guys don't check rejections well. Well, the kind of people that are mentally unstable enough to tip $1,000 and tell a girl on a receipt that she has nice nipples, yeah, I don't think that's very mentally stable. I think you're over-exaggerating how often this happens. I am absolutely over-exaggerating it. But think about how guys feel.
I don't know what's going on with my download. Or my game. Working though. Here we go. This should fix it. I used to play a lot in Neverwinter. I don't know, it's not working.
Friends and family, I am way too excited to talk about gigantic once.
Chat, you'll never do it. Chat, you'll never be able to do it. It's never gonna work. Twitch plays YouTube subscribers. This is what this is, dude. You're never gonna be able to. Don't all resub at once. I swear to God, don't. You're gonna go, oh God, you're 4 away. I like how all of chat is just screaming at each other. Just edit the HTML? No, I'm not going to edit the HTML, even though I could. Chat either gets it or they don't. This is their victory or not. Oh, I got it. You got it. There it is. There it is. Holy shit. Chat, you'll never do it. Chat, you'll never be able.
Hey, welcome, sir. Yeah, I don't know. It's broken. Now it's making me sign in again, though. Maybe I need to, like, link my Steam. Yeah, I don't see a link option.
Greetings, gigantic fan.
You know what? Might be access to the old one. No, I don't know. Not sure. Maybe it's just not going on now.
How do people go about smuggling alcohol into Ocean City?
Very carefully. We were going to try to smuggle it in our bags, you know, cover it by, you know, tossing the towel over it, this and that.
This is an Ocean City smuggling technique #1. What do they call this move right here?
Don't ask, don't tell.
I like that style. A little bit of a back carry.
Yeah, absolutely, you know.
The camel back, that's a good way for it.
I'm thick enough that it's easy enough to kind of
Okay, sorry, back.
Disguise it behind me.
If I saw you from the front, I think you were just grabbing both butt cheeks. I'd have no idea you were holding a 24-pack of White Claw.
Yeah, you kind of might suspect that I'm kind of just prairie dogging one right now, which is not a very prideful thing to say.
Are the cops on you about drinks at the beach?
I mean, I've been out plenty of times, and there has been absolutely no cops on us.
Is there any fear on your end about getting raided or taken down by the Ocean City PD?
We're at private property. If they raid us, I will 100% fight them in the court of law. I know a lawyer. Because probably everybody in Ocean City knows a lawyer to a degree. Everybody here is just bougie enough that they wouldn't know.
Do you ever feel like you're part of a Prohibition-era secret society trying to slam White Claws in a dry town like this?
Oh, no, absolutely. It feels like everybody does it. So it feels like it's a matter of fitting in when, you know, there's at least like 7 out of 10 people are already smuggling booze onto the beach. You don't want to be the only one that gets caught.
So everybody's smuggling booze into OCNJ?
7 out of 10 people. The only issue is either you have kids and you cannot, or you are just simply bad at it. Like, there's plenty of seasoned alcoholics out here, you know? I'm not gonna say that we are some of them, but we are not like, you know, rookies.
In our next episode, Ocean City Nights will attempt to infiltrate the secret world of binge drinking in Ocean City, first beginning across the bridge at Super Liquors, then going to the Ocean City Boardwalk at 9:30 p.m.
My name's Andrew Callahan, and you're watching Party Pooper. What are you doing? Are you drinking beer? Oh, fuck, we got one right here. We got a live teenager right here. He's coming down here to drink beer. He's got lemonade and vodka in there. Take that shit out of town. You guys fuck with King Von?
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah, man! King Von in this bitch!
To get an early look at our episode, Ocean City Nights, go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. As many of you know, we are completely independent and crowdfunded 100% by your monthly contributions. Thanks so much.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. At 5.
Question: simulated child porn lolly stuff?
I think it's pretty sussy.
What is that?
This is Riot LOL.
Tried to get a rank queue. It took like an hour. I didn't even get anything. They killed BBB. Yeah, it's like full dead. Maybe I can get a game now though, but I'm kind of over it. Wow, those are mobs too. Fuck, I'm dead. Heal me. I have my chocobo out.
Hello, I'm Ruby Burrito, and welcome to Stay Marksman Sky. This pistol matches the Arcane Marksman 600 gems. What's in Bird Skimmers? I do have an example with Bed Salvage Kit today. So, I'm not going to...
Okay, so is South Shroud I needed?
Hey there, YouTube. I'm Bub.
With every expansion in Final Fantasy XIV comes the release of a quest chain.
Areas. The drop rate can be pretty bad. Drop from Fates of Atma crystals. These crystals are dropped from Fates spawn in these areas. The drop rate
Do Alliance raid. how it ended. Unfortunate. Maybe I should do some heaven on eye. Might be able to actually get Qs for it now. I never have to do Palace of the Dead again though. Such a good feeling. Everyone's 60. Everyone's 61. Okay, -4 here. Oh, that's why. Gotta be a mender here somewhere. Oh, here we go. No, merchant. don't even glow, man. Yeah, there's no need for like any of these. Maybe the book. Just get a cube before me. I don't want to move my health down here, maybe. People don't do heaven on high anymore, do they? Shit was so good for leveling. It was also such a good way to like learn your class too along the way. Without it, I have to level normally through like dungeons and shit. Just like so much slower. Heaven on high was so fast. Do I need to go to like a different data center maybe? Like is there a different data center for it? Like I would imagine the newest data center would be the best one. Maybe people use Discord now? Finder? Had to make sure it wasn't like a floor 1 thing. Or floor 20 thing, I mean.
Deep dungeons and
High was the second deep dungeon to be
Apparently
released.
1 to
The room is
30
well
is soloable.
before, which is a single massive open room that can actually have false exits that explode. And they also introduced special buffs that can be obtained by standing near animals that can be found within the tower. Moving on from the changes, let's discuss what we should do before heading in. The first thing is to pick the job that you want to take in. Personally, I highly recommend is the knockback, as it's usually followed by the cleave, meaning as I mentioned earlier, these rooms have false exits. Moving on to the last set of floors, there honestly isn't that much that needs to be said, as the difficulty level is basically the same as the previous 20 floors, with the only enemy of note being the samurai, who can knock you back potentially.
If I'm soloing it though, I'm probably not getting that much XP.
They'll do a rather hard-hitting attack.
Probably not
It wouldn't
worth
be a
to just
problem for
solo.
Gunbreaker, but if you're playing a DPS, it definitely can be. The boss, however, is the hardest of the three, mostly because how they work can be a bit unclear at side. When the
I'm gonna hit you with a statement that I think should not be controversial. At max level, you should know how to do your rotation. Does that make me toxic? I don't know, but I don't blame you either way. I know you're doing your best. You wanna know who I do blame? Square Enix.
Nightmare.
No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait.
Yeah, Heaven on High is dead, chat. Heaven on High is dead, PvP is dead. I guess I just dungeon queue. I just miss Heaven on High leveling. It's actually pretty nice.
So I got linked this video and I thought it was interesting because this is like a topic of conversation I've talked about before, and yeah. So the title of this video, first of all, is called "Wow and the War Within is Bloated" by Automatic Jack.
Talk about how WoW is so bloated and how I'm honestly kind of worried that the War Within is continuing on with that trend. One of the biggest things we saw with Oracle Priest just last week was how the spec is having to juggle between buffs to be able to deliver the proper buffs onto the players when you need them, and it adds another element of like cognitive load to be able to play the spec, and it's really not the only one that's happening alongside of it. And there's been a lot of discussion about the community, and I wanted to kind of go over a couple of points from what other players have been saying about how WoW has just gotten very bloated over the years.
The skill ceiling of World of Warcraft used to be pretty low compared to other classes. The most amount of damage with any given class is not rocket science, right? But the more the depth of these kind of support classes, the higher the skill ceiling is when you combine it with like a raid group. Because nowadays it's actually incredibly hard to get the full amount of damage you can gain from a full raid group. It's really hard.
And we also saw it with M+ when Augavoke.
That's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. That is definitely not a complaint I would have.
Was really coming into it, but it's also that WoW is so built on like a variety of modifiers and like multiplicative buffs on top of each other, where you were having the world first race with like AUG officers, where they would specifically sit down outside of the raid group just looking at logs the entire time to like min-max their damage. You would have obviously the PI combos with like AUG buffs that we had in like season 2, which has been obviously toned down a lot, but it's also just added to this bloat to the game where both like add-ons and the support specs have kind of like combined to add.
I don't mind complexity in my games. I feel like the complexity in WoW is completely fine. I feel like the clarity in the complexity is the issue. The clarity of what is going on, what is happening on the field. Like, there's not a whole lot to it. It doesn't teach you about things in PvP too, like what things to look for, and those things aren't as clear as they should be that like actually see go on.
It's a really large barrier of entry to be able to even play the game, and Asvin was also talking about this recently.
I think that this is even a problem without considering how all the different classes interact with each other. I think it's a problem even within just one class. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many insane modifiers. Like on Frost Mage, so here's like an example. Okay, so you're on Frost Mage, you can, let's just take Ice Lance as an example. Okay, so Ice Lance, does a base amount of damage, and then it can also crit. So normal damage, crit damage on Ice Lance. That's fine. Then Ice Lance has a modifier with Fingers of Frost. So if you have Fingers of Frost, it does a certain amount of damage, and then of course that can crit or not crit. And then on top of Fingers of Frost, if you have Flurry on them and Fingers of Frost,
there are a lot of modifiers though, yeah, like a little bit too many.
And then on top of that, if you have Fingers of Frost and they're rooted / Novad, so they have to, if they're rooted as well, then that has another modifier on it. So even within just Ice Lance, there's all these modifiers, and then there's even crazier things like using Icy Veins, and then of course like Trinket Rocks, and I feel like spells just, the variance in spells is way too crazy, in my humble opinion. You know, I know, I get it's an RPG, it's fun to see big threats and stuff like that, but when a spell...
I like the complexity, but I do hate all the modifiers that are like separated like that, like they are mentioning. But I mean, I think the complexity is fine. Complexity is like where it should be at in WoW at the meantime. I just don't like how a lot of it is like damage modifiers from certain procs of like armor effects and talents and, you know, like skills themselves. And then you have like legendary effect gear and shit. It's like, I wish it was more, definitely more simplified in that front, or just like complexity in the skills was more not along the lines of like damage modifiers and burst windows with those damage modifiers.
In the case of Ice Lance, even more than that, but yeah, when a spell can go from, you know, regular hitting for 40k to sometimes hitting for 200k, I feel
yeah,
like
see, like that's an issue.
It's a bit crazy.
It's all about like the modifiers right now and hitting during those like burst windows, and I don't like that.
Rotations, but I also feel like they don't need to have that many modifiers on them.
Where there's a couple clips I want to show talking about how, yeah, WoW is like really sweaty and it's gotten sweatier and sweatier over
Modifiers are definitely the issue.
Harder, but add-on.
Mortal Strike has a lot of damage mods, but they're all nerfed by 90% in PvP, so nothing you do actually matters. Mortal Strike having 4 different values that are invisible to the enemy, and to some extent of myself is lame. Yep. No, I agree. Like, it used to just be you press Mortal Strike and either crit or it didn't, or maybe you had some armor pen, and that's it. And then it was like, okay, then they added Colossus Smash, and then on top of Colossus Smash, they made it so you overpower stack, and now it's overpower and Colossus Smash, and then, okay. And then also there's now a modifier on execute, so if you double overpower and then you Mortal Strike plus you've executed, that does more damage, plus Colossus Smash is more damage, and then on top of that, it's fucking insane. It's too much.
Too many modifiers
there's
for
more
sure.
modifiers to sharpen. It's like you have sharpen, so Mortal Strike, crit, not crit, sharpen blade, 2 stacks of overpower, execute, like, and then on top of that, like if you happen to be a little teacup spinner, your strength goes up even more. It's just, I do think that has gotten out of control. I do think there's too many modifiers. I've talked about this forever. This is not new. Modifiers are crazy, and I do think some interactions with like, okay, you do this spell first, and that makes the ability to do more. That's kind of cool, but when it's like boom and boom, 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 like 10 of them in a row.
Yeah, that's an issue. That's when it becomes an issue.
Most of it comes to the complexity of the specs in the game, which requires the add-ons to be able to properly leverage. That is also added.
You need add-ons to actually know when you have all your procs of things actually going on, like your skills, your armor effects, your just all that shit. The only way to properly track it is through an add-on. I think it does all show through like the buff window too. No, I don't think there's anything that's hidden.
The equation, which is increasingly just.
But you can actually like see what your actual crit percentage is on the fly, on the go with add-ons. So you kind of need it in order to actually know when your proper burst window is.
Not friendly to new players.
Do you guys think these are going to be cool, these hero specs? Because like I think they could be cool, but my concern is that I think that if Blizzard tries to make them cool,
I think these are going to be cool though.
It won't be balanced. And retail WoW is for a bunch of like try-hard nerds.
Yes.
Like that's what retail
True,
WoW is
though.
all about.
Okay, so speaking as one of the like.
That is true
nerds, I see what he's saying, but like also a little bit later in the video, he also talks about how like you don't want to invite anybody who's gonna like make your life harder. It's like, yeah, you do want to min-max, but like, what else is there for like any game, you know? You want to make sure you're pushing the hardest progression possible, or pushing with your friends and accomplishing the dungeon.
To be fair, this isn't just a retail thing. I don't, did you guys play TBC? I don't know if you guys played the Burning Crusade, like classic TBC when it came out.
People are trying harder than that.
Like,
People were min-maxing like crazy. Yeah.
Like, okay, you have.
It was crazy during that time. It was.
And
Everyone was min-maxing so much. Yeah.
No doubt about it. You had to have a shaman, you had to have a melee group, you had to have a range group, you gotta have a boomkin in your range group to make sure that they all have crit and blah. It's just modern WoW. Everyone wants the path of least resistance. Everyone wants to do the most damage, and if you just invite a player, even if the player isn't good, if they just happen to drop like a, you know, a modifier to your spell crits and additional spell damage and additional spell hit, or wind fury for, you know, it's a very simple thing to do to increase your gains, so everyone's gonna do it.
And then it's not fun when someone kind of ruins the experience, even if it's
Everyone wants Wind Fury. Everyone wanted Wind Fury in Classic too, if you want melee cleave.
It's not that fun. And
allowing some people to put in partial effort and other people not to put in partial effort, well, then you create a reward structure around putting in partial effort, and the people that are putting in full effort leave. So that's what happens.
Like every raid guild ever.
You discriminate on rats? I discriminate on anybody that doesn't put in, like, if you're not enchanting your gear, if you're not performing well. If I know you, obviously I'm going to give you special treatment because that's just the way it is. But otherwise, no, I absolutely...
It's pretty funny.
I absolutely discriminate. Like, if somebody is not, like, fully ready, or they're not, like, enchanted, or I don't feel like they're prepared, then, yeah, fuck them.
So it really boils down to, like, everyone...
To me personally, I've always never cared too much if they didn't have like their enchants, kind of like if they're just doing DPS. So, I mean, you can do some good DPS without enchants, but you know, those enchants are gonna boost you pretty hard, especially if it's some of the crazier shit they've been adding. Definitely a big boost though.
His blankie looks... I'm actually really cold right now, and I want his blankie. That's like the... I'm like really cold, and that blankie looks really warm.
Leveling tactics, which I think got nerfed, or whether it's retail players mapping out or using add-ons to figure out the best leveling route, or people figuring out the best way to farm seeds and a Mirjasil so they can get their infinite augment room, so they can always have an augment room, and that's like min-max grind. Like, always going to be this sweaty. There's always going to be sweatiness in pretty much every game you have to play these days. It was actually kind of a problem I had to I felt like super behind when I was trying to do a new player experience when I first started playing that beta. Everybody already had it figured out. I felt like I was behind. But WoW also has the additional problem that, yeah, we're inevitably going to be sweaty, but when there's so much bloat to the game, when I actually would argue that Dragonflight Talons contributed more to bloat, I think.
Even when there's no bloat, people are sweaty though. That's what I was saying with like TBC and Classic and stuff like that. Like, it was so fucking annoying. I remember when Classic came out, I joined Hoagie Haven Hot Dogs.
Classic and TBC were the sweatiest.
Where they would charge you a raid tax to go to the raid. But
Wrath was pretty sweaty too.
In our 40-man raid, we had 10 mages. Why? Because mages are OP. So fuck it, stack them as many as you can, you know? Half our raid was warriors and mages.
Mages were so fucking broken.
But it just makes it easier. So even when the game isn't complex, people still cheese and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
One of the clips that we have, he kind of talks about it, how they've scaled it back because they didn't have covenants. But I actually think they kind of made it worse in Dragonflight, especially for healers.
No, I think it was worse with covenants.
So much power creep. And I really think that the hero talents, Oracle in particular, are adding on to this power creep in a really
I think
big
power
way.
creep was its worst in covenants. I think he's wrong on that one. I don't know.
Net neutral or slightly
That's a wild take.
reviews that we've seen for some of the hero talents from other classes or specs, it still adds another element of like bloat that comes into the equation as well.
To me, like, I feel like I can't get into the game because there's so many things that are in the game. Like, there's just so much to it. And I've never really I don't feel that way with Lost Ark. I don't feel that way with Final Fantasy. I don't feel that way with New World.
I feel like it's
But,
just
like,
the
WoW
add-ons
just
for
has,
a while.
like, all of these extra,
It's just too much shit
like,
you need to have.
verticals of difficulty that like no other game has. And just not even difficulty, like complexity.
And I think this complexity that he starts talking about, we'll have another clip as well, really comes down to when you're trying to stack all these.
I don't think the
modifiers
complexity is an issue.
together. We'll talk about in her
Just the complexity with the modifiers.
balancing out each of these individual dragonflight talents,
It's the only issue to me.
how interacting with either larger cooldowns,
Way too many modifiers.
satellite legendaries, covenant abilities, old legendaries.
Evoker makes it even worse.
All of these things sort of stacking together for like a new player experience.
By the way, Asmin loves PoE for the insane layers of complexity. Yeah, PoE, when I look at PoE, I just shut up. Like, I can't. When I look at PoE and all the shit that's there, I just too old. Can't handle it. Maybe I'll try PoE 2 when it comes out, but yeah, PoE 1 looks like the craziest thing ever.
So you don't want to just like have the game be dumbed down in its entirety, but every expansion adding something else into the equation.
Hey, welcome, Jack.
Really has this infinite sort of power creep to it, and that was actually some of the reason after MOP really that they started doing some like class pruning, which obviously had a really like negative effect in the community where they were really tired of like losing buttons, really tired of like losing extra abilities. Now we're kind of beginning this cycle again where people are looking at having too many keybinds. And one of the biggest things when it comes to a new
Nah, the keybinds are in a
Do you
perfect
feel like
spot.
you have too many keybinds?
I feel like it's
Just
in a
like
perfect spot.
quick little break. Do you feel like you have too many keybinds? On some specs,
Perfect spot? I feel like I
but-
don't have too much on some.
Yes, yes, no, no, not on Demon Hunter.
Like Frosty K, for instance. Frosty K, I feel like I have no buttons to push.
On some specs, I feel like there's some specs that are good, and then there's some that have like unnecessary buttons. You know,
My demonology has a lot of buttons, just for sure.
like on Frost Mage, I feel like sometimes I feel like you have too many attacks. On Frost Mage, I really feel like you have too many attacks. And they actually pruned some of them with the mage rework. They like got rid of Ebon Bolt and stuff like that, but I swear there's still so many. You have like 15. Some like when you look at like a class of breakdown, some of them are really clean, you know?
I feel like
When you look at
I'm in a
others,
good
and
spot though,
20 damage sources.
ability-wise, and well,
You know? 20.
like we're not at too many buttons, we're not at too little buttons.
They always want to bring something new to the
I feel like we're at a good
equation.
amount.
They wanna add something new to the equation, and I understand that. It makes sense when you're trying to sell new expansions that you want.
I feel like some don't have enough though.
back.
Like Frosty K,
It
like I
always seems
said.
to boil down to another way that classes get more deeply complex. Now, Final Fantasy, on the other hand, I haven't played it like super crazy in depth for multiple expansions the way I have with WoW, but I was playing it for Shadowbringers into Endwalker, and one of the things I really liked about it was that there were some slight reworks to how the spec was. And I was playing a lot of Astrologian, and then obviously I played a little bit of Sage, a little bit of White Mage, but there weren't these like full additional abilities, full like fledged massive amounts of bloat. Like I think going into Endwalker, we got like a new raid cooldown or something like that, but it was like
FF
one
has also
extra
had a good amount of abilities.
that was getting added into the equation. And then they were simplifying how you were like drawing.
But they also take a lot of abilities away from Final Fantasy and like rework and like add them back, kind of, or like not add them back, but I mean like they've removed and then brought them back in a different form or like change things around. So
Cards and cycling cards. Or
I haven't actually seen like how many extra abilities are the talent trees. As far as I saw, most of them are just passive, right? The only one I really paid attention to was the Frostfire and Mage one. I think you only get like one ability or something.
And as a result,
But maybe it's just all the modifiers from the passive that makes it too complex.
new things on top of each other that you had to be able to juggle around. But of course, it's sort of like cleaning things up. And one of the ways a lot of people in the community were really hoping that a lot of these hero talents would go would be that they'd be more along the side of cosmetics for class skins. Kind of the way that people were hoping.
Thank you, Fabernass.
Covenants
I appreciate that, brother.
Cosmetic and less about a variety of different ways of building up power.
Blizzard doesn't understand after the failures of the past, there's player power connected. systems, it's constant half measures instead of giving players what they're asking for.
Because if you were having things that were going to be more cosmetic, or they were going to be more about your choice, or like how things are going to be appearing, and they're going to be appearing really cool, but it's not going to add some like extra level of complexity to the equation, then you're able to look a little bit cooler without having to go through, you know, Oracle Priest and having all these additional add-ons.
I'm of the goat. Let's
on
go.
hand to be able to track the buffs or weak auras, to be able to track which buff that you're cycling between and deliver it to the right target. Or in the case of the Keeper of the Grove setup, you're having to adjust your spellcasting sequence as a Resto Druid to be able to properly balance out a number of buffs that you have on hand that you previously did not have to worry about before. And then it was just coming down to cosmetics. Because when it's always coming down to this player power equation,
That's another thing for me. For WoW, there's so many buffs, man. There's so many buffs in that game. There's so many different fucking things on your buff bar. You need something to actually, like... They need a built-in thing on their buffs. I don't care people use an add-on. If people are going to use an add-on in WoW to do it, but I want it to be baseline. They need an option in the baseline buffs to show and not show certain buffs, because there are way too many fucking buffs, man. I don't want to see when I have, like, Warrior Shout on me, like, all the time, 24/7, you know? It's taking up a slot. Let me... There's more. There needs to be more buff options there. Just like display options. I mean, just like separate things by a time or two, just so I can get rid of that junk and then hide those, or just yeah. More options there would be nice. There's too many damage modifiers, and there's too many fucking buffs that are just like on my bar.
add another layer of complexity on hand to be able to deal with content. And keep in mind that the content is also getting harder, and historically has been getting harder. I think Sepulchre was obviously a huge step up.
Yeah, WoW content's been getting harder raid-wise.
Down for Vault of the Incarnates, it got a bit harder than average.
I disagree with that. New expansion should change playstyles. There should be probably more ability replacements with changing hero talents rather than just adding new ones. Yeah, I think that would be a really good place to start. I think instead of maybe adding a bunch of new abilities, the hero talents are more transformative. They transform the abilities you already have. Maybe you should get no new abilities. Like literally not a single new ability from the hero talents transforms abilities you already have. I feel like that could be cool. But,
that could be cool.
Another thing is balance. Now it's not just like... It's not just like, okay, we gotta balance mages. Okay, we gotta balance not just mages, but frost mages, and then we gotta balance fire mages, and then we gotta balance arcane mages, and we have to balance them in Mythic Plus, and we have to balance them for the raid, and we have to balance them.
And every class has to be happy, pretty much. Like, otherwise, people are gonna be upset. So, it's definitely a lot of work. That is for sure.
For arena and solo shuffle. But now it's like, there's on top of that, okay, it's a mage. Okay, it's an arcane mage. Okay, it's an arcane mage that plays Mythic Plus. Okay, and he's a spell slinger. You know, it's another level of things they have to balance. I really don't envy the devs.
Yeah, me either.
The devs' position that they're in for having to do that. I think it's going to be a very difficult task.
Same.
Of course,
Not gonna lie, same.
Here
Not an easy job.
Sort of the natural sort of life expectancy that you're going to see for a lot of expansions, where yeah, you're going to have each raid tier sort of step up in difficulty, and then it kind of resets a little bit, and then it keeps...
If I had to be a balance dev in any game competitively, like, dude, bro, not World of Warcraft, not any MMORPG like that, dude. Oh no. You know how much shit there is going on? I would not want to have anything to do with the balance. Balance for like a game like Overwatch, it's so much easier. Just like... Another one I was gonna say.
But one of the biggest things is that the
Guild Wars 2, even Guild Wars 2.
Going higher over time, and that's where having content getting more difficult over time, and then classes getting more difficult over time, makes it a lot more difficult to bring new people into the equation.
No way.
As in this video, said a lot about like making sure you just get rid of add-ons in its entirety. I don't really agree with that, but there's
PV, of course. No, I'm kidding.
certainly is a lot of bloat that I do agree with that happens.
I personally think WoW would be better without add-ons and everything was built in to the UI, like caked in. I feel like WoW would honestly go in a better direction if we didn't have add-ons in that game, and they were forced to just make some more clarity changes to the game. Better like base UI options and better just, you know. I think what we're looking at now is just a mess on the screen.
In the class trees, it happens in the spec trees as they get more bloated, and I really think that a lot of these hero talents are just adding on to the bloat, and eventually, I think what's actually going to happen with these hero talents, if not in beta, then certainly over the course of the War Within's life, is they're probably going to get less and less important to operating your spec, and become more and more about the flavor and more about the cosmetics, which is something that players are early on really calling for. Just like players were very early on calling for Shadowlands Covenants to be swappable all the time. It feels like we're kind of repeating that cycle once more.
Yeah, I think that people are right to complain about it, but
Oh, well, they're
I
out.
think that the real...
Damn, okay. Damn, okay. What do we got? Okay, so we just have one picture, a preview of just one. Number of trees is equal to the number of specs available for that class, so 3? Or 2 for some. Each spec has 2 trees shared with one of their other specs. Freely swap talents and trees at will. Freely swapping is good. 10 talent points. Each level past 71. Fuck, I don't know Boomy too well. I don't play too much Resto either. Okay, they're adding even more modifiers, so I can see why people are a little bit upset. Okay, just one there. I only see one there, never mind. Not too bad. One there based on treants being active. This could be cool though. I don't see a huge issue with these. These kind of seem fine. Never mind. I see a lot more modifiers in this one. They need to stop adding so many of these though, because it makes your base skill feel so bad. So like, when you're just hitting with it normally, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything until you actually get your modifiers and you actually get a crit too with your modifiers and stuff. And that's the only way it actually feels impactful, you know? Is when all the stars align, you get a Yu-Gi-Oh! You get Exodia summoned. You need like an add-on to actually track it all. It's definitely too much on that front. I'd rather the complexity come from like the actual skill usage. i.e. rotation, stuff like that. Positionals. Stuff along those lines. Something that is kind of like dynamic too. In terms of like how you have to engage to get that modifier. I.e. melee range, you know, or ranged, like from a distance, getting different modifiers based on that too. Something more dynamic along that line. I just realized I'm still in a queue for Heaven on High, chat. It has been 35 minutes. That content is legitimately dead. It is noon. It is noon. Midday. Peak player time, North America. It was so good for leveling alts, that's why I'm kind of like sad. I was hoping I could just do Heaven on High during like midday on my alts to get him to like 70 so I can do Boja. That plan's kinda ruined.
Problem.
Isn't there like gray armor I can buy, chat? For level 61? Can't I buy like great armor from wherever that circular place on the map was? Like a circular town. It was in... Orthard. I think it was in Orthard. No, wait, no. Not orthored. Wait, was it Il Meg? Okay, I didn't know I could go to Idleshire all the way to 70 per gear. Or wait, no. Let's see. This piece doesn't look too bad. I was really hoping I could use dyes that were in my saddlebag, but it doesn't look like I can. Boots actually look good.
The drop rate can be pretty bad.
Scorpion and Archer. I think I'm still missing those two. Scorpion. Archer. Oh shit, am I done? Maiden, Goat, Archer, Scorpion, Twin, Scale, Bull. Scale, Twin, Bull. Fish, Crab, Ram. Crab, fish, ram, water baron lighting line. Okay, so I finished that step.
Pretty bad, so just be patient. Once you obtain one, the game will let you know with a pop-up window. It is not unheard of to miss that pop-up, so whenever you are feeling despair, check your inventory and you may already have one. Also, though I wouldn't really recommend this unless you are serious about getting all of the Zodiac weapons, as long as you are equipped with a Zenith weapon, you can farm however many crystals you like in an area. It is not like once you obtain one crystal, you won't be able to get another one from the same region for the same weapon, so just keep that in mind. Once you have the crystal, go talk to Jazan for the upgrade. One annoying thing that I noticed for second time Zodiac weapon farming was that if you have not completed this quest, then Jazan wouldn't talk to you about your Zodiac weapon until you accepted the quest first. You don't have to complete the quest and can abandon it later on, but just remember to accept it before moving on. Step number 4, the Anonymous weapon. This step is the most notorious step of Zodiac weapon. I do have some tips and tricks to help you along the way, but first thing first, let me remind you real quick. Have your Atma weapon equipped for all the things you are about to do for this step. So if this is your first time around, speak with Jazan to pick up the quest Trials of the Brace, who will lead you to Jusana in Modana and the completion of the quest. If it's your second time, then go straight to her, talk to her, and a window like this will pop up. Each time you select step of Zodiac weapon not completed this quest, time Zodiac weapon farming was that able to get another one from the same region for the same weapon, so just keep that in mind. Once you have the crystal, go talk to Jazan for the upgrade.
The timing on that. Maybe I should move these all to shift modifiers. Oh shit, I'm dying. Oh shoot. Oh. Wait, chat, isn't there invisible, like, fist weapons? It totally is, right? I am very bad with my rotation. I should have popped that. I didn't know what it did though. Oh, time to run. My sprint's on G. Oh, the fairy! The fairy's huge! And this is why we kite in a circle, chat. Circular motions, wax on, wax off. Okay, I'm kind of understanding my rotation now. Minus the perfect balance. I'm supposed to be doing a perfect balance. I don't know where I want to put my dash though. I gotta figure out where to put my dash. They redesigned this one? I don't remember that being tied to this one. Oh yeah, it's forward. Okay. I'm kind of like mega focused on my rotation. Trying to figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. That's last boss. Forgot my food buff. chess piece maybe? There we go. Wait, I have all these. On the next part. Need to go to Mordona? Not Mordona? Revenant's Toll? Yeah, so wait, yeah, Mordona. I think I have to do all those. Alright, this part fucking blows. Should be able to get rid of the 50 gear too. I think everything. I think I can get rid of all this. I have 2 ninja loadouts. Oh no. I missed it. No. Oh, I know when I did it. It's when I unequipped Yoshimitsu. Isn't there something for like 20k that I need to buy with seals for my relic, my Zodiac weapon? Thought there was something like really expensive I needed to get. Oh yeah, the bombard core, that's what I need. I don't know if it was just one though. I think it was just one. I'll buy two.
One annoying thing that I noticed for her, talk to her and a window like this will pop up. Each time you select one of these 4 categories, she will sell you a book for 100 poetics, and you can only have one book at a time, and there are 9 of them that you need to complete. Each book has 4 categories, first being enemies, then dungeons, then fates, and finally leaves. The most annoying among all of these are the fates, because the fates that you are looking for may not have spawned yet.
Alright. The book. I don't see it in my inventory. Oh yeah. Key item, right? So goes over here. All right. think one should be over here. You know, it was the other side. Here's one. There's another spot they spawn at. I don't quite remember where though. Might be on the other side. Oh, here it is. Yeah, the dungeon queuing part kind of sucks. I forgot I can just solo the dungeon zone. think I'm missing a debuff bar. Because I've been looking for the Forest March and I have no idea where it's at. Let's get XP though. I need some 61 gear. Best if I just tank it. I think I'm gonna take a small break though. I'm gonna lay down for a bit. I'll be on like within the hour for sure.